This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Everybody, welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We've started our morning drive. We've come along power lines. There's some tracks of a pride of lions heading along this road. I think that's what Tess wants to look for this morning. So we won't follow these ones. But it's so nice to have the rain roof off. And a bit of clear skies. But welcome, my name's John T. We've got BK and Jason behind me directing the show. And we're going to cruise. Our plan was to go towards Shadulu's den site and check there. We got a little bit held up. Rusty was running a bit low on fuel this morning, but we're still going to go there. And please, as always, send in any questions and comments. It definitely makes the show better, for me at least. Use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. If you're under the age of 18, pop us a mail on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You can register on the WildEarth website. Head over to the channel page and you can submit your questions there. Okay, let's go. So the bummer is now, obviously we've seen these tracks. Thank you, Sarah. Have you brought some crunchies for us? So I just want to check here to give Tess a bit of a hand. Which way one's turned there. So we did get reports that dark mane had come. I think they go there. Let's just check here. That dark mane walked past on the dam cam. Yeah, I think these lions turned here. Let's just go have a quick little squiz. Just to give, I don't know, I'm torn. Do we give Tess help or do we let her track them by herself? Yeah, and it's hard here. There's a track there. Oh, they do seem to be coming along here. Yeah, there are tracks there. Okay, cool. I'll let her know that. Let's carry on towards Simbambili Dam. I'm just going to chat on the radio to tell Tess. Tess, come in. Okay, I'm going to carry on. You're going to head over to Tess to say good morning. You can tell her that the tracks are at power lines Impala Road Junction and they head south.
Thank you, Jonty. Good morning, everybody. I am sitting at Gowrie Dam with our dominant male hippo. We came here because there were some interesting dam cam updates last night with Dark Mane walking past the dam and in fact lying down here for a little bit too. So I thought a great place to start my search this morning for some lions would be Gowrie Dam. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari here this morning. Behind the camera is Eckhart and Gerrit on the vehicle with us. And we are going to be having an amazing start to the day with the dam and a few of the sounds to start our morning. So it is really nice and tranquil here at the moment. And there's a dawn chorus that is very impressive this morning. Waikisha, good morning. Yes, let's get ready to bumble. Let's give it a go. See what we can find this morning. Now, before I jet off to start tracking lions, I want to take just a minute just to sit here, take in a bit of the scenery, and of course listen to these bird calls. Since we have been so good with our birding recently, it would not be a good start to the day to ignore the beautiful dawn chorus around us. So let's just have a listen while we watch. The clouds are blowing past the dam. Really stunning scenery today. You can hear everything from grey-headed bushwhacks to woodland kingfishers, starlings. Buffalo weed is just absolutely gorgeous this morning. Well, the hippo is watching us quite closely, I think just making sure what we're doing on the dam wall, and I'm sure he would have noticed the lions last night if they were here, and he was here at the same time. But it sounds like Dark Mane was actually moving through here quite late this morning, and so it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. On my way back last night, I bumped into the lions that Jonty had coming towards Gowrie Dam from Twin Dams, and it seems like the tracks with Dark Mane coming through as well. It seems like there's tracks of a pride going north from here. So I'm going to be taking Mvubu Road down towards my favorite little crossing through the drainage line and head up towards Vuyatela access and go north towards Sandy Patch, see if I can find where those lions have gone. We've had such good luck with lions recently, so I'm hoping that that really represents for us this morning. A lovely way to start the morning. Alright, let me take in my last little bit of tranquility from the dam, and then I'm going to head off, see if I can start tracking those lines for us.
So we're just busy driving along Triple M, and we thought we'd stop and just have a moment and enjoy this beautiful sunrise. Listen to the bird calls. what an epic sunrise. It's also nice like this early in the morning to just sit for a couple minutes and not sort of speak, just listen to all the sounds, because you might get alerted by alarm calls or something like that. So that's what we've just done, and we're going to carry on now. I want to try and get to that area where Shadulu's den is as fast as possible. I think we might even be a little bit late, just because it seemed like what the information we were getting was that she was coming back late in the evening and heading out early in the mornings. But let's see, we might get lucky this morning. Go and check one-eyed pan. Must say, I've checked one-eyed pan a lot and never really had anything too good there. Maybe today is the day. What do you think, BK? One-eyed pan road or Mashlewa? There's nothing at the pan again. Ben, now that it's sort of drying out a bit, if you have a look, basically, well, wherever I've seen them is like on small little shrubs, sometimes on grass sort of leaflets. I'll keep an eye out to see if we can see one. They are so pretty, the coloration on them. Maybe once the sun comes out a little bit more, they'll come out, thaw out. So it'll be interesting to hear where those tracks go. It's so funny, I know I've left those tracks for Tess to follow, but I can't switch my brain off trying to figure out where they're going to go, what are they going to do. From where we saw those tracks, it's not far to the boundary, so they may potentially have crossed out of Djuma, crossed over Triple M, the Triple M break. Okay, we're going to head over to Tess, who's bumbling around.
Bumbling seems to be the theme of the morning this morning. We've actually just stopped our bumble. We found a woodland kingfisher. It's just swept low over the grass, chased a starling, and landed on this little branch just next to the drainage line off of Mvubu Road. And there it goes, back down towards the drainage line. So it seems to be hunting this morning. It's kind of going from tree to tree. It's just landed in a very far marula. But just a nice way to start our morning with some birds. Lovely bright colours. So the plan from here is to head into the drainage line and then move off towards Vuyatela access and track north. I know Jonty's headed towards possibly Shidulu to see if he can find her den site, see if there's any activity, and I will be tracking the lines. I'm trying to work out the line dynamics in my head at the moment. You can see, it's a great day for them to still be moving, which explains why Dark Mane was moving so late this morning for a lion. It was still dark, but it was, I believe, after 4 a.m. that he was moving, around 4:30. But it's a bit strange the dark mane is so close to the Nkuhumas. And the Nkuhumas were coming towards Gowrie Dam, and then the same night, dark mane arrives at Gowrie Dam. So it's a bit odd. And so I'm wondering what on earth is going on there. You can hear a lot of the woodland kingfishers chatting as well. Alright, let me get going into the drainage line and across towards where those lion tracks are. I could see a spot on quarantine this morning where the lions have been lying down, a lot of disturbed soil, so you can kind of see where they've been lying and then where they've moved off again. All the impalas are back on quarantine, and the tracks cut off towards Vuyatela access, so we'll go and start our tracking adventure over on that side. It was a very cool morning this morning when we got up, hence the jacket. But it's heating up quite quickly, so I'm wondering if the lions are going to be sitting still somewhere. Maybe they were on the hunt last night, looking for some yummy wildebeest or something. Would be nice. We have just had a flash of 3 hyenas just before the woodland kingfisher that came up the road and then cut off into the block, and so I'm sure they're looking for lions as well. So that is also weaving a little nest in my brain, making a mental note of where the hyenas went so that we can go and follow up. Safari Kitty, I'm glad that you love the kingfishers. They are stunning birds, and the calls are just unbelievable. I wouldn't think a call like that would come out of a bird so small and colourful. It's lovely. So I'm hoping if my signal is dipping that it will return in about 2 seconds when I get to the top of this drainage line. Alright, I'm going to check Gallagher Pan and then I'm going to head towards Vuyatela access and start my tracking. Let's head over to JP in the meantime to say good morning. I believe. We're not heading to JP, we're staying with me. Lillian lions can go quite an extended amount of time without having any food. Because they eat so much red meat, they don't have to eat small bits every day like we would eating plant matter and like elephants would eating a lot of plant matter. In fact, they can survive for a good few days without any food as they're processing their last meal. I think the maximum would probably be maybe 2 weeks, severe maximum, that they would survive without any food at all. But it's unlikely that a lion will not have any food at all because they're very good scavengers, because they're the biggest predator. You know, this pride of lions would be able to steal from almost every other predator. But at the same time, anything small that they can get their paws on, if they're desperate, they'll eat lizards, they'll eat birds, they'll eat all sorts of things. So they will find a way to survive. But with absolutely no food, I would think an absolute maximum of maybe 2 weeks. Alright, it sounds like JP is ready to say good morning now, so I'll send you over to him.
Good morning and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands, and a good morning to the rest of the team as well. We're out here on a little kopje overlooking area where we always like to come for our sunrises. It's a great little spot as it offers quite a good sunrise as well as beautiful views on the Drakensberg Mountains. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Morgan. Our plan for this morning is to sit here for a short while, listen to what sounds we can hear, and then from there on start moving off. We are hoping to hear some breaking of branches, possibly by elephant, or maybe some distant contact calls of lions which can guide us into a direction of where we can possibly go and find them. One of the things that we've now noticed in the mornings is the mornings are slowly getting a little bit more chilly as we are approaching autumn. And we also have noticed that the nights are drawing in. And the bird calls are also slowly becoming more and more quiet. Generally, we do find that there's a lot of bird calls that we can hear in the early morning, especially when it comes to the breeding season, which would now also indicate that the breeding season has come to an end. However, there are still a few birds that I've noticed that have only started nesting now. I'm just going to pan the camera around and we're going to do a short silent segment and allow you to listen to the different sounds in the background and just enjoy the beauty of the landscape. Good morning, Joe, and welcome to the show. Think of it, what is my favorite bird call ritual? I actually love watching yellow-billed hornbills when they start actually doing a duet where they call together, and then also with opening their wings and bowing their heads down towards one another. That's probably one of my favorites to always watch. Good morning, Black Widow Spider, and welcome to the show. Yes, it's definitely a privilege to be able to wake up to such beautiful views every morning, and that's one of the things that I'm very grateful for, which my work allows me to enjoy every day. Sunrises, sunsets, and amazing animal sightings. One of the things that I really do enjoy about guiding is that we never know what we're going to go and find out there today, and no 2 days in the bush is ever the same. We're going to hang around here a little bit longer and listen to all the different sounds in the background and hopefully hear a lion or an elephant making some noises. But let's in the meanwhile go and see what Tess is up to.
Sounds like a lovely way to start the morning, JP. I am looking for my lion tracks. They've come kind of up to this point and cut off the road. So I'm on Vuyatela Access, that's going towards the gate. On my left would be going towards Zoe's Road, and on my right towards Gallagher Shortcut. That's the way that the hyenas went, to the right, past Gallagher Shortcut and then Mvubu Road. I'm seeing hyena tracks here, but I'm not seeing lion tracks anymore. There has been an elephant walking up and down, which doesn't help because it covers the tracks. What is interesting is because it's so many lions together, they should be fairly easy tracking. So I'm going to go and quickly check the junction behind me again. and then possibly take Gallagher shortcut. So go that way. Bongo, you want to know how many babies lions can have? So it actually depends on the lioness, but the averages are normally a litter size of 3 to 4. And so, you know, normally what we would see is lionesses with either 3 or 4 cubs at a time. Bear in mind, of those 3 or 4 that are born, if they're lucky, 2 of them will survive, especially young males. So that's why lions are, you know, more used to having more cubs than leopards are, for example. Leopards have a slightly, but fractionally higher success rate with cubs. And so the average for a leopard would be 2 or 3 cubs, where for a lion it would be 3 or 4 cubs. There's so many predators out here that would be wanting to kill each other's babies that unfortunately cubs end up in the mix way too often. Alrighty, got some trucks coming up and down, so I'm gonna sit here and just listen for a minute, and then I'm gonna head up that way just so I can listen in case those hyenas start calling again. So I'm listening for alarm calling or hyenas calling, anything like that. And I can see the line trucks coming up the road here. Some are going on the power lines towards Sandy Patch. They might have turned. But I'm not hearing anything that sounds like alarm calling. The tracks are pretty fresh though. Right, I'm going to have to change my plan a little bit and go towards Sandy Patch, Impala Plains, and do that road down there. I can hear Cokie Franklin behind us. I heard something strange there. Did you hear it, Eckhart? Sounded like it was coming from there. So it almost sounded like the noise I heard might have been, you know, when 2 lions have a bit of a scuffle with each other. Possibly over a carcass. That makes me very excited. Huh. I think I should do Zoe's Road and have a look if these lion tracks come out there. That would be amazing to find them on a carcass.
Welcome back, everyone. So I don't know if I'll have to sneeze. It's right on the brink. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So we're sitting here now at Simbambili Dam. We just thought we'd just sit and enjoy the view for a little bit and just scan around, see if there's any sign of movement of Shaduli. This is the area where she's been denning. But I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen any tracks on the road in either. Well, the road that we've driven in on. There comes in an Egyptian goose to make a landing. I imagine in these dams would probably be catfish. Maybe bream, if some years ago, if some guides had come and put some in. But I'd imagine catfish would probably be what is in here the most. We have to come and throw a line in and see if we can catch one. There's so many like little spots where Shadulu could come and lie down here. But I'd imagine this morning it wasn't cold. It was a bit of a chill, so you'd imagine this nice morning light, you'd like to be lying in it and warming yourself up. And the blacksmith lapwing and some Egyptian geese. Haley, I have seen leopards trying to catch birds. Not at this dam, but at Ngala we saw some. Trying to catch, saw as a young male leopard trying to catch Egyptian geese along the edge of the dam. And I've seen them catch francolins and guinea fowls. Especially when they're young, that's how they hone their skills. Practice stalking, pouncing. Obviously the killing part is not so difficult for a bird. But the stalking, to stalk a bird is level 10 skill. I think we'll just sit here for maybe a minute or so longer, and then I wanted to go change positions. I mean, we've come here a lot in the last few days. We've got to be rewarded at some stage. The basic thing about sitting at these spots for a long time, you could sit here and be looking and looking all over, and you're looking at the birds, and then you look back over into a spot that you've checked 100 times, and there could be a leopard just lying there watching you. Yeah, they grow so quickly, wagging pit bull. Time goes so fast. Well, we reposition. You can head over to Tess.
Good luck, Jonty. Good luck. That sounds like a fun plan. Okay, so I'm on Zoe's Road at the moment, which is kind of between Treehouse Dam, Quarantine, and Vuyatela access, the main road in. And I've done a little bit of a loop, so the tracks actually went up power lines, but a sound that sounded like the lines came from between Zoe's Road and Quarantine. So I'm wondering if they've done a bit of a loop. So I've just done here to check if there are any tracks of them coming over Zoe's Road. I haven't seen any tracks yet, but also there are some hard patches of ground where I may have missed tracks. So I'm going to check along here. I've seen lots of wildebeest tracks, which to me is what they would be after. There is a large implausibility that hangs out on Quarantine. So from here I'm going to loop back towards the power lines and see where the tracks cut off, if they cut off there. You would think tracking a large pride of lions with so many members would be fairly easy, but it really depends where they've walked in the long grass. Justin, absolutely. Female lions will go and find a den site somewhere away from the rest of the pride, somewhere very safe and secluded, and that's where she will give birth. In fact, she only really starts to introduce the cubs to the rest of the pride when they're a few months old. She might allow other lionesses or the males to sit close by while she's got the cubs in the den site. But it probably takes almost 3 months before the cubs are actually introduced to other members of the pride one-on-one, and then brought into the pride to start eating meat when there is a kill. You'll probably find most likely though the mother will catch things herself and fetch the cubs and take them to that instead of feeding the pride, because when cubs are so young, you don't want to make them more vulnerable than necessary, if that makes sense. Don't really want to do that, because at a carcass, when the males are getting aggressive with each other, it's not the best idea to have 3, 4, 5-month-old cubs around. I can see some tracks there, but those, yes, those are some hyena tracks, some lion tracks, yes indeedy. So they have done a bit of a loop. Fancy that. Down to Rebecca's Road we go from Ballinatis. They've done a loop. Coming back towards Treehouse Dam. Yes, so in essence you don't really want cubs to be too vulnerable. Perfect. And tracks, love it. Cool, I'm glad I took a bit of a shortcut. I could hear the sound coming from there's a triangle now between Zoe's Road, which I came off of, Rebecca's Road, which runs towards Treehouse Dam, and then Quarantine South. There's a bit of a triangle. I'm wondering if they're somewhere in here. Well, difficult to find them. Lots of sea plans. But let's see how it goes. Let's see. Yes, lions would be great this morning. I agree. Their tracks are going straight down the road, so they really have done a big loop. Seems like they came up past the dam, cut towards Quarantine, went along power lines, Impala Plains, back along Ballinitis, and now they've skipped Zoe's Road, which is the road I did in the middle. They've done all the roads around it and come back towards this side. Lovely, lovely lion tracks. Hello. It would be a great way to spend the morning catching up with some lions, and how lucky would it be if they were on a carcass. That's exciting. So there is a drainage line in between here and Quarantine, so I think that might be where they are. Catty cat, yes, it is. I wouldn't say it's common, but it's certainly possible for animals to die while giving birth, especially even things like lionesses. There are complications, and unfortunately, being in the wild, it's not as though there's a vet on call for them. They just have to accept the fact and try and deal with it as best as they can. So that's a bit of a unfortunate situation, because we wouldn't even know about it. The animal would get eaten before we'd even find it usually, because they're so secluded when they give birth. But yes, it can happen. Absolutely, it's a bit of a sad situation to experience, I can imagine. Line's cut off, now they come back on again. So this is in fact the same road where the Nkuhumas were last week, Rebecca's road. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're relaxing somewhere in the shade here. Still walking down the road. This is so exciting. And off the road. Alright, let's see what happens. The tracks have cut off the road towards the dam. So let's see.
Good morning and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands. Just out and about, seeing what we can find. Started our morning off with looking at a beautiful sunrise and a view over the Drakensberg Mountains. We also listened and heard if we could hear any vocalizations of lion or distant breaking of branches of where elephants are potentially feeding. We're now just checking some of the roads for tracks. While we're driving, we're just going to share some of the beauty of the landscape with you.
Okay, so we checked around the dam, all the spots we could check where we thought there might be a leopard lying. We didn't see anything, no tracks. There were lots of tracks of hyena in that area. So we thought we would just leave it to itself. And now we're just cruising. We're going to go back now towards Djuma. And on the way there, we're obviously going to check the roads very carefully, see if there's anything we could follow. But this route that we come in and out of Simbamili, now this road we're on, this is the limit of where we can go. It is always tough when you're driving on a boundary, because you might find a track and get so excited, but then it goes off the other way. I wonder how Tessa's tracking mission's going, where those lion tracks heading now. Oh, but it's so nice having the sun come out. so awesome. What's the time? I think my little daughter Amelia is watching, hopefully, eating her breakfast. Hello Amelia. Getting ready to go to school. Greg, what are some things to not do while on a drive? I'm assuming you mean as a passenger. Fall asleep. It's so bad because if I sit on the back, I fall asleep so fast. I find it so comfortable. Generally, you want to keep your noise down. It wouldn't be advisable to be like shouting at the top of your lungs. Just you can talk, stay nice and calm. If you're viewing animals, don't stand up. That's definitely a no-no. They get, they become very much used to the shape of the vehicle and the outline of people in it. So as long as you stay seated, it's kind of normal to them. Different animals, sort of leopards, you don't want to... Can we go straight here? With leopards in particular, especially if they're not 100% like habituated, if you make big pointing gestures at them, they won't like that. They'll run away. And a lot of these things I'm saying are things that have happened to me whilst on drive. I'm saying that, but people do that, which is ridiculous. And do not throw water bottles at lions to make them get up. That's how you get the Richard Cranium Award. But yeah, just be normal. Sit down, talk, enjoy it, and just behave like a normal human being. Ask lots of questions. Often when you're driving, there's the guide. You can imagine we drive through these places regularly. So if you see something that's caught your eye, just say to us, stop the car, we can see something, we'd love you to show us. Don't ever feel bad about doing that. So I was busy talking there, I heard something in my ear about, are there bats in this area? There are bats. The epilated fruit bat. We get those. JK, epilated fruit bats. Yellow pipistrelle I've seen in this area. There actually are a lot of bats. I must say my bat knowledge is not that in-depth. But I'm pretty sure most of them cruise around at night, catching insects. Mosquitoes, they are so good. It's a lot of places here will put up bat boxes around lodges and around houses. Because if you've got bats around your house, they hammer the mosquitoes, which is so good. I almost want to I want to train a bat that can like hang in my armpit during the day and at night just fly around and zap mosquitoes. Oh yes, JP is out and about. Can you believe it? You're going to go say good morning to JP.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pro Islands. At the moment we've located a small group of vervet monkeys, which is one of two species of monkey which we have in South Africa. The other being a slightly larger Samango or Sykes monkey, which we do find in forested habitats. Little vervet monkeys are at the moment busy grooming one another, and if you notice a little bit closer you'll see that there's a tiny baby in the arms of one of the females. We're just going to pan in onto them and see what they get up to, and just do a short silent segment and listen to the sounds of nature while we're watching them. Good morning, Don, and welcome to the show. And with Don's question, is it true that vervet monkeys bond by means of grooming one another? Yes, they definitely do. We actually see that a number of different species will actually do what we call allo grooming, where they will groom one another. And that creates friendly relationships within the group, but also obviously at the same time assist with removing parasites off the coats of these animals. And we see it with both vervet monkeys and lion and a number of other animal species. I've even noticed quite often that warthogs groom one another as well. And we also see this very same behavior with impalas, where they will groom one another. Good morning, Megan. I didn't hear the question very clearly. I'm just going to ask the guys to repeat the question for me again, and then I will answer that for you. To come back to Megan. Megan is asking us, what gear would you need for a bushwalk? Firstly, a pair of comfortable shoes, which is in order. You don't need hiking boots. If you do have something that does come up to the heel, that's also better, as it protects your ankles and your feet against potential stings and bites. And we generally recommend that you do wear long trousers. Just make it a little bit more comfortable, although I prefer short, but it also makes it a little bit in terms of not getting ticks on you, because you can rather see a tick on your clothes if there's a lot of ticks. Have grasses which can sort of agitate your skin if it becomes wet, the seeds if it does make contact with skin. And other things which is important is definitely a hat to protect yourself against the sun, a sufficient amount of water, and we generally recommend on strenuous walks in incredibly warm conditions and that you take a liter for every hour that you're out there. Then the other important things is that your clothing is neutral, and that means that you shouldn't be wearing incredibly bright colors or colors such as white while you're out on a walk, as those colors stand out. And then some of the other important stuff to bring along as a good pair of binoculars, your camera, as well as some sunblock.
nearly back on our home turf of Djuma. Got to figure out what area I'm going to go work in now, where we're going to go check. Maybe let's go do a little loop around Sandy Patch. See what's happening there. Those areas have been left to themselves for a little bit. Ooh. I hate not driving a road. Now driving past that one there, you always think, oh, is that the road where there's action? There were some tracks of a buffalo going the other way, but just looked like one buffalo bull. So also I was wondering how many people who watched yesterday morning after I was talking about pancakes, how many people went and made pancakes? Because we didn't, and I'm quite sad about that, because I want a pancake. Okay, come on. We need tortoise pan, tavangumi, kara, kalamba. Any leopard I'll take. I just want to see some tracks so that we know we're working in the right area. I might go up onto Sandy Patch and check around there. That prominent game trail that leads from there towards Sydney's Dam. And also I might just go to an area and actually just switch off and listen for a little bit. Maybe we'll get some monkeys alarming or something like that. Go sit somewhere and maybe do a bit of birding and just listen out. FC, can you give me any sort of updates on what's happening with those line tracks? Whoa. Waikisha, no, not necessarily. I don't think so. It's a little bit interesting because if you had to think of like in a completely natural state, if lions have never seen vehicles like this, or not used to seeing people walking around on foot, they actually will run away every time, and leopards will do the same. You won't see them. I've used to see it at Ngala when we would track lions that had come in from Kruger, and some of those big blocks of land could be 70,000 hectares, 80,000 hectares. So now those lions potentially have never seen a car or never seen people walking around. So when you track them, all you would end up doing is you'd just keep finding where they were lying down, and they just keep running away from you. And leopards will be the same. I'm just seeing here, look, there's a track. There's some tracks of a hyena running. That's a tricky one. Let's see if something pops out here. Oh, there was another one there. I see Jason spotted that one. It's hard because it looked like it was like it's been running. And when they run, it completely distorts their foot. Okay, no problem, FC. I'm just double checking some of these tracks here. That is a leopard. Yeah, boy. Yes. You can't hide from me, you cheeky rascal. Unless I'm going to drive over you, shame. So that is a bit of fortune, and some impala just walked across. I'm going to go closer because that leopard is right on our boundary. If it goes the other way, we are, so if it goes west, we're not going to be able to stay with it. And we're going to have to work this one because now it's in this, going into this long grass, but how epic is that? Luckily we were puzzling over those tracks on the road. There's tracks of a male lion here as well that look like they're pretty decent. Oof. It's a pleasure, cat lover, but now we've got to try and stay with it. I already can't see it at all. Okay, that's good. BK is literally on top of it. Let me go forward. Yes, this grass is unbelievable. Jason's like, don't see that at Penguin Beach. This is ridiculous. This leopard, it's lying down. Well, it actually doesn't matter where I go now. Shall I just try? I'm just going to try straighten up. It is so well camouflaged in this grass. This is actually ridiculous. Can you get through there? So look at the grass now. Yes, that is insane. So I haven't had a chance yet to see the face properly, to see who it is. Oh, this looks like Tavangumi. Yes, this is legendary. Look at that stretch. Yeah, anyone who's saying it's Tavangumi, you'd be correct. I was thinking about going around. I want to actually try follow him from the road because I saw some impala cross in here, and I think that's what he's seen. A little bit further up here. No, please don't cross, my boy. She's beautiful there. My goodness. So he knows those impala where he's going to, maybe another 20 or 30 meters forward. That's where I saw the impala cross the road. No, they crossed the other way, boy. Oh, the light on him is unbelievable at the moment. And interesting that there's male lion tracks all over the road here where we are. Johnny, it's funny, if you type it on Google, you'll get a whole range of answers, but I would have said probably between 70 and 80 kilometers per hour. Okay, there he is there. So I've also checked, luckily this is on like a crest here, so it is dry enough for us to come up here. I'm going to try and get in front of him, BK. I'm also just looking for any sign of the impala that crossed in here. Oh, it's hard. There he is there. I'm hoping he's going to walk towards us here. I can't see the impala anywhere around us here, but it did walk in here. And you can see how he's listening. James, he is, I think, on his way to becoming a legend. If I tell her something, decide I'll give you guys a shot. You can see how deliberately he's moving. So the challenge we've got now, I don't want to drive very close to him and potentially disturb his hunt, but we can't go too far because we'll lose him. So we're going to have to just be super, super patient. So the way leopards hunt, they're obviously masters of camouflage and stalking. And they want to get as close as possible. If they can get sort of under 10 meters, that would be the goal. And then burst out in a blur of speed. And they don't chase for very long. So they rely on that ambush. Oh, jeez, like. Okay, let me try. Let's try and get around. Looks like he just lay down in there. Okay. The herd of impala are just behind us here. So that's good to see. So we know he's on the money. And there he is there. Yes, you could miss these things so easily. The sun's going to be difficult here. View of this leopard, he's lying in a tricky spot for us with the sun. But that's all we can get. I'm just going to call this in on the radio. The station's located, a male leopard is stationary in the block just to the east of Triple M, north of Vuyatela access. Okay, copied. The FC just telling me we the stable feed for the moment, and that's fine. I'm happy to sit here. So the herd of impala were. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to let this vehicle know what's happening here. Morning, man. There's tabangumis lying here. So you can see those impala must have done something. I'm just going to try to reposition the car because I think he's going to move. He's actually busy stalking this impala now. Just mark that spot there. Okay, so Tabangumi is now actively stalking this herd of impala. He's come into here, he's still moving there. This is going to be tricky for us now. So Jade, they'll often stash them in a thick bush, the base of a thicket. It's very rare to find a leopard, feeding out in the open, unless it's on a very big carcass that they can't move. Male leopards they're a bit more confident to drag it into a bush or something, especially with the threat of hyena around. Okay, let me go. I just want to go forward, because with these sort of situations you want to try get into a position where you can at least see both the predator and the prey, because at some point when he starts stalking, we're going to lose him for that last little bit. So I can see the impala there. Can you get him through there, PK? So now we can see both. Sorry, I was just repositioning. Do you know where that old sort of quarry is, close to the gate between Triple M and Sydney's Dam? Yeah, if you come to that quarry. Okay, copied. I'll just call you in if I get your audio. He is busy stalking a herd of impala. He's probably about 80 meters off. Sorry, I was just chatting on the radio there. Hello, Tavangumi. Oh, don't go to sleep. They're right there, boy. So Michael, I hope he's going to actually show us himself, even though at the moment it looks like he's going to go to sleep, which is horrendous. But you see, like the whole body language changes. They almost get like rigid. The ears go flat. It's almost, if you imagine, like if you put a thread through their nose and their tail, it's like you pull them taut. And the movements become very, very slow and deliberate. It's so interesting, but also what we've got to bear in mind is where his head height compared to where ours is. We can see quite far in this grass, but if we were where he is, it's a lot harder. So he probably can't see the impala that are right, so he might be able to hear them. His ears twitching there to the right. There was a hippo making a snort down in the dam. How ridiculous is that camouflage? I can also hear, he just turned his head. What you can hear is the communications between the lambs and the mothers. They do like this. But this is the pure patience game. I wonder if it was his tracks that were running across the road there that we were investigating. Okay. Also, While we wait this out, you're going to head over to Tess, who's back out.
Alright, I am now bumbling south on Weaver's Nest. So the tracks of the lines that we had them on Taxon's Road, which goes towards Treehouse Dam. And then from there they've done a bit of a loop. They've come back southeast towards Weaver's Nest, Elephant Carcass area, which is the next road that I'm going to check. But as I'm about to get there, somebody crossing in from the south of Djuma has just found them at that exact junction. So, 5 minutes earlier and I would have found them. But anyway, we're getting there. They beat me to it coming up from Gowrie, Maine. Darn it. But at least I know my tracking skills are on point, because that was the next road I was going to, following the tracks. So Treehouse Dam is off to my right hand side. Taxon's Road as well. It's just up to my right hand side, and they cut off from there towards this junction ahead of us. And that is where they are. A cat morning all round. And what I'll do just now, I'll show you the map of the loop that they've done. They've pretty much ended up almost exactly where they were yesterday. They've done a giant circle. They've been doing loops recently. Don't know if they're looking for food, maybe they're looking for the rest of the pride that's got the 7 cubs. But they seem to be moving a lot. Big circles. Laura, the most difficult parts of identifying tracks is probably if it's a clear track, it's much easier to identify, but if it's in a very sandy area, the tracks lose a bit of their shape, and then it becomes difficult identifying whether it's a lioness or a big male leopard, or whether it's a hyena or a wild dog. That's not the best comparison, but that's pretty much the bigger issue over there. Oh, hello babies. I've got some right next to me as well. I'll have to duck out of the way for Gerte. The other guy is laughing at me a bit. I didn't realize there were lions right next to my face when I stopped. Goodness gracious. Oh. Hello, boys. Sub-adult male sniffing something there. Yeah, then cool. My boys are getting so nice and big. I love it. Oh. Right, so let me see how many I can count so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So maybe there's more hidden in the grass. Kuhuma sub-adults. I love it. I haven't seen these ones in a while, so I'm very happy to see that they are looking nice and healthy. They don't look like they've eaten. You can see his belly is quite flat while he's standing. But it looks like we had 3 of the sub-adult males right over here next to me. And I don't know where the 4th one is. So it was just 3 sub-adult males here right next to my face that I didn't see as I was pulling out. G's laughing at me. They were very well hidden behind the bush willow, everybody. Very well hidden. So the 4th male must be somewhere in the little cuddle puddle down the road. Goodness gracious. Let me see if I can show you just now. I'm going to get the map out. Show you what we've done today. Hugo, it would be lovely to have a roar, wouldn't it? Absolutely, I would love that. Okay, so this is the map of Djuma, just to show you where we started with these lion tracks. Okay, so where we had them last night was here on Battalier Road. This little section here, just north of Spaghetti Junction. And then came on to Twin Dams, past Djuma, the dam, past there. up onto quarantine, to camp, up Vuyatela access, along the power lines, down Impala Road, back to this junction, which is where we found their tracks again. Then they've come all the way along Rebecca's Road. They cut across like this towards Taxon's Road. They came down Taxon's Road, crossed back, and now we're here. So they're almost back where they started last night. They've done a massive circle all the way around and then back. How crazy is that? I don't know why they're doing big circles. I think they might be hunting or looking for the rest of the pride that has the cubs. But I could hear interactions this morning. So when I stopped on Vuyatela access, I could hear interactions. And then when we stopped at Treehouse Dam, I could hear a lion. No, it was on Rebecca's Road, sorry. I could hear a lion roaring. And it sounded like this kind of area. So I figured we're coming here, but I don't see a big male here, and I'm wondering if maybe the one we heard roaring might be with the rest of them, with the 7 cubs, and they're not too far away. I have actually just seen tracks of the lions with the 7 smaller cubs while we were coming down Weaver's Nest, and that's possibly from not last night, but the night before when I got stuck following them. I think it was that night, and they came through here and then disappeared further east. So I think we're not too far from the rest of the Nkuhumas. We've just got to try and find them. Okay, so the other young male, one is now in the cuddle puddle, one here in the road, and then these 2 here on the right. Interesting that the sub-adult males are already starting to move themselves slightly further from the cuddle puddles than usual. Okay, so I'm going to be enjoying sitting here watching my lion pride. I think it is going to be a lovely morning spent here. And if you listen, because we're close to the drainage lines, you might hear them sighing every now and then, but you'll also hear some great birds. There's quite a variety calling today. But I'm hoping the sub-adult males are going to get up and move closer to the cuddle puddle now that it's heating up. These 2 in particular next to my face, they are in the sun. But let's just take in a bit of the scenery and have a listen.
Just give me the lot. What is it? Position of landing? Where is it? Jim, or is he on top of them going towards the gate? See now when I'm there, beyond.
I can hear helmet shrikes, I can hear a rattling cisticola, weavers, steelings ring warbler. There's just so many birds calling, and I think the lions enjoy it as much as we do. It's so nice and peaceful here. I'm really enjoying just being able to have a nice close look at the ones that we can see in the road. I'm very happy that we have got our Nkuhumas so I can have a little catch up with them. It's always good to see them again after not seeing them for a week or so. Definitely makes your day.
Okay, so Tavangumi is now turned. He's going back towards Triple M, the boundary, which is sadness, I've got to tell you, because if he crosses out, I'm going to be so bleak. There he is going in front of us. I'm going to go try get onto the road. There's another vehicle that's joined us now. It looks like he's going to cross. I think he's still looking for these impala. Don't go that way.
Jonty, we're going to take this one to the western tunnel.
Okay, copied. Are you happy to run it?
Yeah, but I will.
So fortunately we can cross where we are here.
I don't give up. To the west. Morning, guys. To the west. It's crossing over towards the mountain side.
Oh. Sure. Okay, he's here. So I think he's still looking for these impala. But they're on the other side of the road. I know it's tricky at the moment, but he's going to keep moving, so we'll just... The only bummer about where we've come to on this side, it's going to become a complete rodeo show with the radio and other people trying to get in here. So we might have to sort of pop out and come back depending on what happens. So he's just here next to us, looking through the grass there. Sophia, like a big male leopard like this, if he was very hungry and he caught like one of the lambs that was born this year, that probably wouldn't even last him one feeding. But a fully grown male impala could probably be on it for a day or two. Yeah, we've got to be... I can't see him now. There's going back that way. So while we try to stick with Tamangumi, you're going to head back to Tess. You're still with the lions.
Goodness gracious, what a morning we are having, everybody. So this is one of the sub-adult males of the Nkuhumas, and we've just been admiring his face for a little bit, the face that he's busy cleaning at the moment. Beautiful in this golden light, but what is striking about him is the amount of scarring that he has for... Oh, big yawn. The amount of scarring for such a young male. Look at that face. Even behind his ears he's got some scarring, but his nose and around his eyes in particular are very scarred. Look at that paw. Goodness gracious, he is lazy. Other than the scarring, he's looking in very good condition, although I haven't seen him get up and move. I've only seen the other two sub-adults get up and move, and the other one in the road. Very sleepy as well. But I'm just loving the golden eyes. I don't think it is going to be too long once he's done grooming before he heads over to the other sub-adult males. All very typical signs that he's getting himself ready. Yawns, grooming, rolling over. Zaki, the lions will be considered sub-adults once they have weaned, usually. So, lion weaning can take anywhere from, they start at around 6 months, it should end at around 10 months to a year. And then from a year to about 2 years, they're in a bit of a, that's the grey zone. Different people think of this in different ways and would quantify it differently. To me, a sub-adult is usually anywhere from a year and a half to about 2.5, 3 years. So for me, it revolves more around sexual maturity. I don't think there is an actual scientific age of what you would call a sub-adult. I think it's open to interpretation. And my interpretation is, it must be after weaning and close to sexual maturity, that kind of in-between phase. So to me, it's between, say, a year and a half and about 2.5 years to 3 years. I think for a male it lasts longer than a female for me as well, because males will only really start getting a proper mane closer to 3 years old, where a lioness, anywhere from 2 years, she can be pretty capable. And I mean, we are still considering these sub-adults, even though they're just on 2 years old. And to me, these will still be sub-adults for quite a while. But I'm going to try and reposition a bit. We've got one sub-adult male sleeping in the road, so I'm just going to go around on the other side so we can get a better look at the rest of the pride. Because we've only really spent time with the 4 sub-adult males. They were the closest to us. Alright. On the side of the road so that this male doesn't feel the need to move. Why should we make him move? It doesn't make sense. That will do. You want to go into that side? Well, that's where the 2 sub-adult males are lying, actually. I think that's what Hat was pointing out. So we've got 2 down here, so I'm not going to dip back onto the road. And 1 sub-adult male on the left, 2 lying down here, and then the rest of them in a bit of a cuddle puddle. Wow, that lioness has got a massive belly and a very, very clear teat. Oh, hello boy, are you moving? He's actually just gotten up, he's moving towards the rest of the... Oh my goodness, they got a fright from the sub-adult male. That was so funny. He came running past them to join the pride, and then they got a fright. The sub-adult lioness is stunning. My goodness. How beautiful. Hello, sweet girl. I feel like she is going to be an absolute queen of a lioness one day. She is looking so good. Her form is unbelievable. Muscular shoulders, sleek, long nose. Already a successful killing machine, but can you imagine when she gets to the size of that lioness she's about to bump heads with? She is going to be unreal. the lioness that's lying flat in the road, I'm looking at her belly, and particularly at her teat. She's looking either like she is pregnant or like she's had a meal that the others haven't. Now, I'm not seeing any swollen mammary glands, so I don't think that she's suckling anybody at the moment. But with a belly that size, when the rest of the pride doesn't have a belly, it is a bit suspicious when you can see the teat that clearly or the nipple. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe she's mated. Maybe there's some new cubs coming.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We quickly stopped over here at Buffalo Pan to come and see if there's anything interesting to have a look at, and to also see if there's any tracks that we could follow up on leopard that's been moving through the area. But at the moment, we are listening to a number of different bird calls, and one of that is the mechanical chattering sound of a fork-tailed drongo. Drongos are actually, for me, quite fascinating birds in terms that they are incredibly good mimics. But there's also a number of other behaviors which they often display, which I find particularly interesting. And one of those are what they refer to as being kleptoparasites. We'll often see them, but they will deliberately attack smaller birds and take the food away from them. And it's also one of the reasons why most bird species will eat their food on site and not fly with it somewhere else to go and eat it. But when you are having chicks in a nest, then you're always at risk of actually having to take food with you towards a nesting site. Another one of their interesting behavior is a mobbing behavior, where they will quite often chase much larger birds of prey. And on a few occasions, I've actually seen them sitting up close by to both martial eagles as well as Wahlberg's eagles, and imitating their calls, as well as occasionally attacking them by hitting them right underneath the belly or on top of the head. They're pretty fast, and they know how to stay out of the way from these larger birds of prey. The other bird species call I was listening to was that of a black-collared barbet, which was calling a little bit earlier, and then acacia-pied barbet too. I just love barbets. They are also quite unique birds in the sense that they can actually create their own nest holes in the side of trees, just like woodpeckers can do. We also find that they've got very specialized adaptations to their feet, so they've got 2 toes pointing forward and 2 pointing backward, and generally stiff little tails to prop them up against vertical surfaces. And those feet just makes it so much easier for clinging on to obstacles. One of the things that I also do find particularly interesting is about the size of the nest hole that they create.
Okay, so we've just, there's 3 vehicles here now. Well, 2 including us. We're just trying to stay with Tabangumi. He's walked into some pretty thick bush. I think he's still trying to find that herd of impala, because where he's looped into now, this is where that herd came from, and they crossed the other side. So maybe he's potentially sniffing around for some stragglers here. I'm hoping he's going to turn back. It's like moments like that where you wish you could just tell them, so they're 30 meters that way. But you can see how focused he is, his ears pricked forward like that, listening for any sort of sound. BK was just saying how all the leopards he's seen, he thinks this is the best looking one. Henley, it's quite a big range. Normally for like sort of males, you normally want to say like to 12 or 13 would be a good. Some of them do go over that. I've known some males reach 17 or 18, and then for females also around 17 or 18 in the wild. I'd probably say average for females is probably around 15. But now he's just basically vanished. So where he's lying down now, there's nowhere else I can move the car. That's going to make it a better view. We'll just have to see who's going to win the patience game. The little bits I can see, he looks like he's grooming. Let me try go forward a little bit. Oh, that's quite cool, they're through the grass like that. But when they lie down in places like this, I just think where we've been driving looking for Tlalamba, we've definitely driven past her. We're going to stay here and wait and see if this leopard moves. You're going to head over to Tess, who's with the lions.
Alright, so we are still sitting with our pride of lions. Oh, there's a little insect bouncing around here. It's just bounced off the car. I had one bounce onto my glasses and bounce off, and now I've had one bounce onto Gert's hand and bounce off little grasshoppers. But we were having a chat, myself and Gert. This lioness that's getting up, look at that belly. None of the other lions have a belly here. And she's got very distinct looking nipples at the moment. So if, and there is a possibility here, because we know the lions have been mating, if she is pregnant, I would think she's actually quite far along if she's getting pronounced nipples. And so that definitely could be something for us to watch in the next little while and see what she decides to do. I think it is quite unlikely that she ate something without any of the others getting any of it, unless she was away and then rejoined the pride. But she certainly looks as though she might be fairly heavily pregnant. Now what is interesting is there seem to be quite a few different lions calling at the moment. So I've literally just gotten an update on the radio saying there's line audio coming from possibly somewhere around First Rock in Torchwood. There's tracks at Gowrie Gate, which is not these lions because they didn't go all the way up. They cut off at Impala Plain. So I'm wondering, with Darkmane coming south last night, with the Nkahumas of 7 cubs going east, these 9 being here almost in the southern central part of Djuma, tracks at Gowrie Gate, and line audio that we had coming from possibly further southeast There is something weird happening with the lions at the moment. I don't know whether the Talamatis are coming back to Gary Gate, that area from the west, because it's not the Nkuhumas, we've got them here. So who is at Gary Gate? And who is near First Rock? Is it maybe the Talamatis that had the 4 cubs, or the new little cubs? Is it maybe the Nkuhumas with the 7 cubs? Is it Dark Mane? Where are the Evokers? Where are Blondie and Mohawk? There's a lot of different dynamics happening at the moment, and we're trying to puzzle it out in our heads, having a look at the map, trying to figure out who's where, and it looks as though all of the lines at the moment are doing loops around each other. It really feels that way, as though they're looping around each other and trying not to overlap too much, but then some are overlapping, some aren't. Bit of a strange situation. Now what I have been looking for is with these ones, the last time I saw these ones, Purple Eye was with them. But I haven't seen her. Lala, yes, it's actually a massive part of the male lion's life is as a sub-adult, they are going to get kicked out. So there's 4 sub-adults here at the moment. Then there was 1 sub-adult that was with Purple Eye and Chela. And that was last week. So that would be the 5 sub-adult boys of the Nkuhumas. And unfortunately for them, they will get kicked out. They have to get kicked out of the pride at some point. There's very few exceptions to the rule. So anywhere from around 2.5 to 3 years old, they're going to start getting pressure from Blondie and Mohawk. Possibly even the lionesses if there's new cubs around. Because you can understand having sub-adult males, they're going through a build-up of testosterone, they're starting to reach an independent and, oh goodness. That's quite an injury on the back leg. That's new. They're reaching an independent age now, so there's a build-up of testosterone that not only attracts competing males to come and see what all of the testosterone is about, but it also means that Blondie and Mohawk are going to be threatened by the fact that there's new males that are going to be stronger in the next 2 years. And so it's pretty important in every lion pride that sub-adult males get kicked out. The sub-adult females usually stay. There are exceptions to the rule where sub-adult females move off on their own. I know at Ngala, the Birmingham sub-adult female, at the time, now she's obviously an adult with her own cubs, at the time she actually split on her own to start helping to look after her brother, who was being pushed out by the Ross males. Now correct me if I'm wrong, G, but that wasn't Purple Eye that has that. Didn't look like her. Looked like 2 normal eyes, and it certainly doesn't look as skinny as Purple Eye normally is. So if anybody has an ID on that lioness that stood up and has such a bad limp, she's facing away from us now. You can see her hip bones. But what's interesting to me is she's not as skinny as Purple Eye normally is. Purple Eye, you can count her bones. This lioness seems to be muscular on all other parts of her body except the back leg where she's got an injury, it looks like on the hip. So I'm not sure if anybody managed to ID that lioness. That is quite interesting. I don't remember that last week. But possibly, there have been so many movements and different dynamics. Because I remember Purple Eye, time before last when I saw them, she was here with the sub-adults. She's trying to lift her leg. She also looks like she has a belly. And then the last time I saw Purple Eye, she was with Chela and Chela's son. So I'm thinking she might still be there because we've only got 4 sub-adult males here, not 5. Some very interesting line dynamics happening at the moment, everybody. It's quite puzzling for us to try and figure out with all these different movements. But I'm going to spend a bit of time here and see if I can get a better look at these lions.
Confirm you got my visual. If you try, it's tricky As if you want to try come in front of my car here, you might get a gap. He's lying at the base of this bush willow. So sorry, I'm just busy chatting to the other vehicle to try to direct them in to where Tawangumi is here. It is very tricky. I might even suggest that they come into where we are. See, it's just there. I'm just waiting for, there's another vehicle coming in, but then I'll move and let them take this spot. There's only really one spot here for guys to see. So we're still sitting here with them, but we actually in probably the best spot. But there are two other vehicles here with guests who are trying to have a look. So I think we'll just have a few last looks at him. And then what we'll do is we'll reposition and let one of those other vehicles come in here where we parked. While we reshuffle here, you're going to head to Tess. I'll move so you can come here. It's tough, eh?
So Gert and I were just comparing the composition of this section of the Pride today versus last night is different. Last night, it sounds like there were 7 together. So 4 sub-adult males, 2 sub-adult females, and possibly a lioness in the mix who's a bit smaller than the other lionesses. But today we've got 9, so there's 2 extra lionesses here. And one of them is definitely this one that looks very pregnant, facing towards us, and the other one we think is this one that's got the injury facing away from us. They weren't with the Pride last night, because that's a very noticeable injury, and that's a very noticeable belly. And they are the only 2 that have larger bellies, so it would make sense maybe that there are 2 of the lionesses that have been moving. So possibly they did get some food that the others didn't get, and then they came and found the Pride again. But it's quite strange that we are having so many little movements between all the different components of the Pride. Dark mane lover, leopards are known to be the fussiest of the cats in terms of neatness or cleanness. So compared to the lions, leopards do spend more time grooming. They are more meticulous with their coats, but they also have the disadvantage of not having other leopards to help them clean the difficult to reach places. So it's much of a muchness. All the cats like to be clean. They don't like to be dirty. They don't like to be smelly. But leopards are known to be the most meticulous of all the groomers that you'll find out here in the cats. Cheetahs are also quite clean. They spend a lot of time cleaning their coats, but cheetahs have a different type of coat to lions and leopards. Lions and leopards have a very smooth, lush, soft, silky coat. Cheetahs' coats are actually very wiry. They're very thick and wiry, so it feels harder and rough to the touch, as opposed to soft and smooth like a lion or a leopard. I definitely say leopards are more particular about where they go to the bathroom. I know that much. Lions don't seem to be too worried about urinating on somebody else's face, but leopards are certainly more concerned with where they go to the bathroom. Jim, the first thing that a lion will do if it's injured is, if it's an open wound, they will clean it. So they're going to rest it as much as possible, trying not to put any pressure on that area. So if it's a wound on the side of the body, not lying on that side. Grooming it as much as possible so that they can make sure they're cleaning any parasites away, things like flies or fly larvae. They don't want an infection. So they're going to keep cleaning it as much as possible, and as much as they can, they'll try and keep the flies off with their behavior as well. So their tails flicking and positioning close to other lions as well. But this is where it becomes important for lions that they have the support of the rest of the pride. If it's a joint injury, they will stick around with the rest of the pride. While they're resting that joint, they'll move a bit slower, move a bit more carefully, stay out of trouble. So you don't want to be in a conflict if you've got an existing injury. And then use the rest of the pride to help you get some food, as and when you need it. The problem with this comes in, of course, if it is a serious injury and the pride needs to keep moving to where there's food, you might get left behind. You'll still be able to find them at some point, I suppose, with scent or with hearing them roaring, a little bit of chatting between the lions. But the problem would then come in that you would be quite far behind, and by the time you get there, there might not be any food left. Obviously, the other big problem is if it's a big wound, the other lions will try to help a lioness or a lion clean the wound, but they will get very unhappy with this because it's painful. It's an open wound. And so that can be a bit difficult to try and keep it clean. And then you might get infections. But don't forget, lions are ultimately one of the most resilient animals. They have one of the hardest lifestyles of all of the predators, and so to get through all of this is amazing. Samantha, lionesses are usually pregnant for anywhere between 100 and 110 days. It's just over 3 months. And so from when we see them mating, we usually try and count about 3 months to see if there are any changes in the body and the hormones. Oh, I need to put my jacket back on. It's getting cold. This weather is really giving me whiplash at the moment. With my immune system, it's not going well. But yes, it's normally about 3 months. The way that this big lioness looks, that's got her head towards us, she's the one lying in the road. I'm just going to show you now. She looks as though she might be very heavily pregnant. But now with the theory that possibly her and the injured lioness, which is the one next to her, have come in overnight and joined up with the rest of the sub-adults, they might not have been here yesterday. So perhaps the sub-adults have not eaten, and these two have, and then they found the pride. Or perhaps she might be pregnant and she's eaten, or maybe she's just pregnant and she hasn't eaten. There's many different possibilities at this point. And it could be the same with the one with the hip injury. You can see she's got a bit of a black mark just below the hip joint. The hip joint itself is very obvious. She's lost muscle tone there. And she's also got a belly. So she could be pregnant, or she could have eaten, or both. And looks like this injury is fairly old, because you can see she's lost that muscle conditioning, and that doesn't happen overnight. That happens over an extended period of not being able to use that leg. So she might have mated long before the injury occurred. Now I know the Nkuhuma pride has been very unlucky with injuries from giraffes and having sub-adults killed. They have lost a lot of cubs, which is pretty normal in lions, but of course we've witnessed it and we've documented it, so it makes it seem a lot more real. But I know they've had quite bad luck with getting injured while hunting as well, and having some interactions with other prides. So I would be very interested to know which lioness that is and how she obtained that injury. I'll go and have a look if there's any record of a lioness getting injured in the last month or so. Because the pride has been so split up, it's actually been a little bit difficult for us to monitor who's where, what's happening, where they're moving. Because, like I said earlier, they're going a bit loopy. They're doing loops. They're certainly changing it up, spending more time on Juma than they used to in the last 2 years, although before the Talamatis took over here, they used to be here a lot. But it seems like they've got these circuits that they like exploring or walking, maybe looking for food, checking on quarantine for wildebeest, then going back towards Impala Plains, also checking the clearing for food, coming back to Treehouse Dam for a drink, and then coming to the thicker sections to rest. It's a pretty good circuit to be walking. But with all the different fractions or portions of the pride split up all over, it's difficult to maintain an idea of what is actually happening. The wind is definitely picking up, so is the cloud bank. I think the lions have chosen a good day to go still. Jasmine, for pregnant lions, you would also look for things like hormonal changes, so getting possibly a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more skittish. That would possibly come closer to the end of the pregnancy though. And then also things like splitting away from the pride, searching for den sites, so a change in behavior in terms of getting ready. You would call it nesting in humans. When you start getting ready for the arrival of the baby, you know it's coming, and so you start nesting. And the lionesses will do the same thing. Now we have got some feedback saying that definitely Chela and Purple Eye were not with the pride last night. It was just the sub-adults, which is what Ger said this morning, and now there's 2 extra lionesses here. So Chela could be this one closest to us, the very, very pregnant looking one, or full-bellied one, whichever way you want to swing it. And Purple Eye could be the injured one, although I remember Purple Eye being a little bit thinner. But perhaps she's been getting better in the last week and has just got one substantial injury that's worse than the others. I'd love to see her eyes and see if she has actually got one purple eye, because I didn't see that, but we will see. But thank you so much to everybody for the feedback. It would make sense to me that that is the case. I know there's been one sub-adult male that's been wandering on his own a bit, and he was last seen with Chela and Purple Eye. But he's definitely not here. We haven't counted a 5th sub-adult male. We've only counted 4. So I wonder where he is. Alright, we're going to spend a bit more time here. Maybe I can get a confirmation if I change angles a bit that might be Purple Eye. But we're going to go over to JP on Bushwalk. It sounds like he has also got a big cat.
Welcome back to Pridelands. We managed to locate on the big male that is a pictorial male and also associates quite often with Ngati pride. we find that he actually has several properties adjoining to us that he will actually cover. And this part of the country, a typical territory for a male lion of his size, can probably be somewhere between 20 and 45 square kilometers. However, in other parts of the country, such as in the Kalahari, they can have ranges of up to well over 1,000 square kilometers that they have to patrol. That's pretty much dictated by the food availability and a number of other resources within the area that will determine the size of that territory. In his case, it's a single male that's occupying this territory, but sometimes we also see that we actually have several males that will actually occupy a territory as a coalition of males. In general, we find that females prefer coalitions compared to single males because there's always a chance that a single male might be killed and pushed out of his territory by a group of stronger males that come into that area. And generally what we do find that what will happen then is that you have a killing of the cubs by the new males, and that will force the females back into estrus and give them the opportunity to mate with these females and then have their own young with them. And also find with most animal species, when it comes to territory and their young, they will outcompete one another's young as well, and that there's very little chances that they will allow those young animals to survive in that area, as it's not their genes. It seems as if he's actually had something to eat, as his belly is actually incredibly full at the moment. And when we started looking for lions this morning, we had an update on lions that were found further to the south, and that was a breakaway group of an Ngati pride which we were viewing yesterday. Unfortunately, they gave us a slip and moved into an area where we cannot follow, and it seems if he has come from that direction, and most likely he actually scavenged something from them. Quite often we see that the males will associate with the females purely for the prospect of finding a meal, as well as checking if there's any of the females in their territory which is in a reproductive condition. If I do find females that are in a reproductive condition and they are starting to go into estrus, well, mate with them, and that day we also find is that when they do mate with them, first time that they mate in that period will the barbs on the tip of the penis of that cat will then create a prickle of pain which will bring the female into full estrus by the next day. I mean, it'll generally stick with her for 3 to 4 days, and the reason why it sticks with her for 3 to 4 days and mates with her on intervals of approximately 15 minutes is to prevent that any other males will mate with them. And by then they're generally out of estrus and he'll move off. Good morning, Susie, and welcome to the show. Yes, they do actually hunt for themselves as well. So, but if they can take the easy way out, they'll definitely scavenge from the females or steal a kill from another species such as leopard or hyena. We quite often find that many of the animal behavior books say that male lions don't hunt, which is actually totally untrue. And I've on several occasions actually see big males hunting anything from duikers and impalas up to the size of hippopotamus. Good morning, Anna-Marie, and welcome to the show. Yes, he is a big lion and he is a handsome boy. We see he's in incredibly good condition as he constantly scavenges meals from the Ngati pride, and both the original grouping of Ngatis as well as a breakaway group. One of the other things that we'll notice is that there's incredibly little scarring on his face, which means that there's very little competition most likely in this area. And we often do find that in areas where I've worked in the past where there is quite a few male lions and where there's a lot of interactions and clashes between different territorial groups, as that there's a lot of scarring and bite marks on the face as well as on the body. going to spend a little bit more time with our male lion, but in the meanwhile, let's go and see what Tessa and Ngumuma is up to.
Okay, so we have been having a look at our lionesses at the moment and our sub-adult males. I agree that this is definitely Chela, lying closest to us. Having had a look at her, she is quite a large lioness. She reminds me a lot of the Birmingham lionesses. You can see the genes coming through there. And in terms of the other lioness, the hip injury does look like it might be Purple Eye's hip injury, but I'm very surprised at the condition of the rest of that lioness's body. I really am. I remember Purple Eye being a lot thinner on the rest of her body as well. But maybe I'm wrong. But we are having a lovely lazy lion day over here. Too many L's in one sentence. It seems as though everybody's going to be settled here for the day. It is warming up a little bit when the sun breaks through the clouds. Oh, there we go. Nathan, yes, I agree. It is a fantastic morning with the big cats. Between JP, John T and I think we've covered it all this morning. The only thing missing is maybe a cheetah or a wild dog. And those are unlikely, but we're always trying. Always trying. If you can hear something strange, I'm sorry, it's the sound of my binoculars hitting my spectacles. I'm just having a look at those lionesses. I am quite happy to say that the sub-adult male, which is the one that's lying in the middle of the road at the back, you can see that the wound on his head is healing quite nicely. He had quite a big gash just above his one eyebrow there, almost in the middle of his head. It seems to be healing very well. Oh, look at that. You can actually see it scarring over. It's not nearly as raw as it used to be. It just looks like a darker patch of hair now, but it's actually just the scarred over section right in the middle of the top of his head. Just so much resilience in one picture. Lilybet, usually new males coming in to take over a pride will only kill cubs that are not theirs if they are, say, younger than about a year old at a maximum, I would say a year old. Because by that stage, the lionesses are getting close to the age where they'll be able to mate with a new male anyway, so then he can pass on his genes through them. And the young males are kind of big enough. They might still get a bit of nonsense from the big male, but they're kind of big enough that they're not in that much danger. Normally, we find the average age that they'll still get killed at is anywhere from, up to 6 months, up to a year. I mean, there's always exceptions. That being said, if a new male's coming here right now and there's 5 of them and there's only 4 sub-adult males, they're going to go for the sub-adult males first because they're the next threat anyway. So unfortunately, that doesn't really extend as much to males as it does to females, Male lions have one of the most difficult lifestyles of all the animals out here. Literally. They have about a 20 to 25% survival rate. As a young male lion, that's your survival rate. Oh, hello, girl. Look at you. They keep giving themselves frights today. Everybody's sleeping a bit too well and then getting a fright when somebody moves past. But yes, you can imagine, even for Chela, when she was younger, she would have had the protection of the pride from when she was old enough to run away from the big males, which is anywhere closer to maybe 8 months to a year. She would have had the protection because then she's got the chance of reproducing for those males. But I mean, Shella's had a very hard time with, 3 of her cubs being killed. 3 in a litter of 4. That is unbelievable, but it just shows they really don't have a high survival rate as is. And as a male, you've got very little chance. Very, very little chance, because every other male will see you as a threat. For the rest of your life as a male lion, you will be seen as a threat by other male lions. Where females aren't, they're seen as a possibility of growth, of success. Males are seen as a constant threat. Hello, girl. Your belly is huge. So I don't know if you two were just eating really nasty or if you might be pregnant, but I like it either way. She's looking for some more shade. You're gonna come and lie in the shade, sweet girl. Oh, she is beautiful. Are you sniffing my tires? Goodness gracious. She's right behind her. That was fun. How was that, G? Is your heart doing okay? You fine?
No, I'm okay.
Good. She's laid down behind the car, so I can't move now anywhere. I'm parked in by lions. That was amazing. Okay, so the lioness of the injury is looking up. Let's have a look. This is one of the sub-adult males. You can see with his nose into the wind. He's watching Chela. But the female that's got the injured hip is busy grooming at the moment. And it looks like we've got a fairly clear view of the face. I wanted to look up. Yes, it does indeed look like purple eye. Have a look at that. It's the left side for us, the right side for her. Wow, she's looking better than I remember. Kokwan is the nickname, old granny. Hello boy, are you also coming to walk past Gers? We've got a lot of action happening over here, everybody. Everyone's coming past the vehicle to see if they can come and line the road right behind the car and park us in. You can hear the noises. They're busy rubbing heads right. When I say right behind the car, I mean half a meter from Gert's back on the floor. Alright, we are going to be waiting. I'm sure we're going to get another walk by from these lines in front of us coming to behind us. But while we wait for that to happen, it sounds like JP is still with his lion. So let's go and have a look.
Welcome back to Pridelands. Yes, we are still with our big male lion, and he's fast asleep at the moment. I would probably also be fast asleep if my belly was as full as his, and as the temperature is already becoming warmer and warmer. You see, within the heat of the day, the best place for a lion is shade, and then you simply just keep on resting until tonight. And in his case, he's going to have a lot of work to do tonight. Firstly, he's going to spend a lot of energy in terms of digesting that meal, and you can see how heavily he's breathing and how the stomach is already moving. And then when it gets dark, he's going to be actively focused on patrolling his territory again, and that means a lot of working with either vocalizations or rubbing his face on objects, or spraying urine or depositing feces, or simply just using your feet to mark your territory, as it also will disperse some scent through the interdigital glands which is located on the feet. As we mentioned, that you will also vocalize, and we often hear both male lions and females, as well as leopard male and female, vocalizing quite often. And one of the purposes for that is either as a contact call or to actually advertise a territory. And when it does come to these big cats, we find that both of them actually occur into a genus that's called Panthera. And with all the Panthera cats, we find that they've got a specialized hyoid apparatus, which is basically floating. It's not fixed. And then also we find that they've got a modified larynx, and that is what enables them to roar and create these loud sounds that we hear. Unlike that of cheetah, which will whistle or chirp and create a number of other hissing-like sounds when they have to communicate. We also find with the smaller cat species, which we have, they also tend to be using another range of sounds, which also includes whistles and chirps, as that they also can't vocalize by using high-reading apparatus or special larynx. In this specific area, you can have a potential of finding 6 different cat species, ranging from as small as African wildcat, then followed by serval and caracal, and then lastly cheetah, leopard and lion. If you go to the western part of South Africa, we also find a 7th species of cat, and that's known as a black-footed cat, which is Africa's smallest cat species and the 2nd smallest cat species in the world. It is definitely one of my wish list animals still to see.
We are so slowly seeing some signs of movement. Here with Nkuhuma Pride, you can see Purple Eyes looking over this way. She's grooming. I think she might come over and join Chilla just now. Especially now that the wind is picking up, you might find they're looking for somewhere a bit thicker to lie down. Goodness, did you see the size of those nostrils while she was scratching? You can tell she's got a very well developed sense of smell. I'm particularly enjoying that golden light kind of dancing off of her face and her body as the bush willows around us are blowing. Okay. And last I saw her, she could still put weight on that back leg. But it doesn't stop her from hopping along and running, does it? Goodness, that's quite impressive. Coming to join Chilla. I'm impressed with the speed at which she can hop on this leg. One back leg is holding all of the weight of the other. From the position of the other hip, it almost looks as though she's dislocated the other hip. There's a massive lump on her hip joint, which looks like the ball socket joint has popped a bit. She is gorgeous and so resilient. Goodness gracious, aren't we lucky today?
I don't think you'll get a day last.
Welcome back, everyone. So I'm just listening to the radio.
I was just on a Samba Simba.
So what's so legendary, Shadulu has been found. We actually just saw where they were sitting. There's 3 vehicles with her, but she's in this grass. I'm actually just going to stop here in the shade just so you can imagine the scene. It's this big open area, this grassland next to us. So they're about, I don't know, 400 meters behind us. And there's a herd of impala, and she's actually currently stalking them. So we just sort of left that area. We're not far from Simbambili Dam, so we're just hoping that she has a bit of luck and manages to catch an impala. As you can imagine, those vehicles that are there, they are not going to leave until there's an outcome there. which is fine. We'll carry on. I'm going to go check the dam anyway. I'll stay wishful thinking. We'll stay lurking around on the peripheries. And I'm also just listening because we made a space at Tavangumi. There were a couple of vehicles that were keen to go try see him, and just because of where he was, we just said it's better to be 2 vehicles at a time, so that we're not putting too much pressure on him where he was lying. I think he's still lying in the same spot. So very, very awesome morning. We were just saying now, like, Shadulu's picked a good spot here by the dam, because you can imagine from this dam to another waterhole, there's big open areas with impalas that will move there. Sorry, Kulu, I didn't get that. I was talking over you. They definitely would. When they're small, they kind of share a little bit, but as they get older, they do sort of squabble, especially if it's a male and then a female. The males will end up bullying their sisters and even their mothers, so they like hog the carcass hoggers. Adam definitely very, very territorial. Both males and females are incredibly territorial, and that's why they scent mark their boundaries. They'll vocalize when they're walking on the peripheries, just as they continue to advertise that that territory is actually still being held, and they won't tolerate an intruder. So this is back where we started a few hours ago. Let's drive through the water just because it will be cool. And then I'm going to stop on the other side and just let's see what's happening around this waterhole. I don't want to go too far away in case these guys call us. I'd love to show you before we close down. Hold on. Sunny. It's so cool driving through the water. So I'm just leaving the radio on so I can try and decipher what these guys are talking about. It's amazing. We're sitting here. It's such a peaceful scene. These Egyptian geese, the youngsters cruising along, and literally a few hundred meters away, there's an impala herd being stalked by a leopard. Incredible. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, they're so cute. They're picking on the grass there. Looks like the water's flowing at a huge speed and that adult is just standing dead still. Oh, it's so nice and peaceful. I'm just letting you enjoy this little scene in silence, not in monotone. Sure, Nadia, that's a good question. How many chicks can we see here? Oh, there's 6. I remember we saw 7 at Chitwa. I'd have to double check. I'd probably say like somewhere between 7 and 12, maybe. Let's see what Roberts says about it. Okay. So I'm just trying to find old stickness. So I'm just scrolling down. Roberts is so good, it gives so much information. Now I'm just trying to find out nest. Come on, how many eggs? Wowzers. 1 to 22. There we go. That's incredible, huh? 22 eggs. Jeez, I mean, I must say I've never seen, obviously, of those 22, not all of them are going to hatch properly. And as they hatch, some of the first ones are going to get snaffled. We're still just sitting here at Tsimbambili Dam, just watching this little family of Egyptian geese go about their day. I was just checking on the bird app, saying that they can lay up to 22 eggs in a single clutch. But I was just saying, you know, if they did lay 22, not all of those are going to hatch successfully, and even once they do hatch, those are literally perfect little snack-sized treats for a variety of predators. I thought there were 6, so there's actually 5.
Can I get a standby there, please? Okay, copy, I'm leaving this one fuzzy. Let me try. How close is he to the boundary? Yo. Okay, let me try so long anyway. Lying flat in the grass, his marlow are not moving. Yeah. Very good vision, that.
Okay, we are settled again. Yes, it is a fantastic visual. I'm just chatting with Dion on the radio. He's asking me how the view is of the lions. I told him it's an absolute 10 out of 5 this morning. Have a look at how beautiful they are. Nice and open. Splayed paws in the middle of the road. Absolutely beautiful. And yes, we have figured it out, everybody. It is Chela, it is Purple Eye, Chela's sub-adult male son, the other sub-adult males, and the 2 sub-adult lionesses. So altogether, 8 sub-adult lions of the Nkuhuma pride, with Purple Eye and Chela as the glorified babysitters this morning. Chela is an absolute bus of a lion. She's huge. Look at her. She is massive. The shoulders are Birmingham shoulders. That's that same gene that they share. Ooh, straight down. I love the way a lion flops. Did you just get bitten by something? Gee. So we've had quite a few interesting insect encounters so far. Gert's just gotten bitten by an ant of sorts.
It burns a lot.
It burns a lot. Oh goodness, it's probably not good to scratch it then. Oh my gosh. Now this just puts it into perspective, you know, we're sitting here, we get the odd insect on us and we get bitten every now and then. There's been a lot of biting flies around recently. Think about the lions, they have no escape from that. Kiki, that's a good question. It depends on the situation at hand, but usually they, as much as they love each other and the social bond that lions have, that is the secret to their success, it's a very strong bond. As much as they have that, when there is a carcass, it sounds like they are killing each other. They are so competitive over the carcass, particularly sub-adults. Now that these males are getting to that age where they're starting to pull their own weight, they're starting to push a lot of weight at a carcass as well. So there is a hierarchy that should be adhered to, especially when feeding. It normally involves Blondie and Mohawk eating first. Then you might find the lionesses and the sub-adults come in. The sub-adult males are going to try and push their weight a lot there. And then very small cubs right at the end, so that there's no chance of them getting hurt by the scuffling of the sub-adults and the adults. It's a strange situation, you know. If it's a lioness just with her cubs, even the cubs that from a young age will start displaying very aggressive behavior when they're at a carcass. But there's no real danger there. It's just practicing. This is how they learn their skills, you see. So that situation is not a fight. That's just the cubs learning their place. But with sub-adults like this, absolutely, you're going to believe they're wanting to kill each other when they're at a carcass, just for competition. And this is normal. This is part of survival of the fittest. So yes, it's quite strange. They'll go from lying in a cuddle puddle like this, grooming each other, making a big fuss when they greet each other, to hunting as an absolute killing machine unit, a well-oiled machine. And then as soon as there's actually something that's gone down, it's as though they cannot stand each other. The sounds that come out of lions feeding is impressive, not because it sounds crazy when they feed, but because when they interact with each other, when they're feeding and they compete, it sounds like they're wanting to kill each other. Oh, she is beautiful, that girl. I'm happy everybody's enjoying our lion sighting. It's so lovely and refreshing to see the sub-adults again and to see them moving, just to have a good once-over look at everybody, see how they're doing. And to be perfectly honest, other than Purple Eye, I don't see a single lion here that's in bad condition or has any bad injuries, nothing like that. So that's a relief. Can hear a bird alarm calling in the background. It sounds like it might be a cisticola. Not happy with the lions being right here. Well, it's interesting, we're not quite downwind, but I'm fairly sure one of these lions has just dropped a gas bomb of sorts, a little bit of a meat-filled morning for the lions, because I can smell it, and it's enough to make the eyes water at this point. And we're not even downwind, so one of them has definitely passed some gas somewhere. And for whatever reason, it swirled back towards us. I didn't see any of them go to the bathroom here, so it's certainly not that we've driven over a bit of lion scat. They did urinate, but none of them defecated, none of them dropped a bit of poop. But maybe it's chiller, maybe the stomach is a bit much for her at the moment. But it's certainly giving Gertna some flashbacks.
So, just an update on where we are. We left that area where Shadulu walking and the guys. We're happy to leave those guests and their guides. We'll get an update. I'm sure we can try a bit later this afternoon. We're now coming back on this fire break. Take a chance. We'll see if we can see Tabangumi. So he was a little bit further along. You can see how thick it is if you pan to the right here, Jason. This is the type of stuff we're going to go back into now to look for him. So unless we get lucky and he's got his head up, I did just check on the radio, and there's nobody currently with him now. But we will see. Let's go and try. Let's see what we can do.
Okay, so it seems like in general we've got a little bit of activity happening from the sub-adult males. They seem to be grooming, and they certainly seem to be moving around a bit more than some of the others. I'm sure this is just as a result of the cooler weather. Isn't it lovely to be able to spend a bit of time with the whole pride of lions just lazing across the road? Dark Mane Lover, we're all hoping for the same thing, a nice speedy recovery for Purple Eye. She is very resilient. If you think about everything she's already been through, everything that all the different lions have been through, they are so resilient. Oh, goodness, flop her down dramatically in the grass, why don't we? And so I'm sure she'll be fine. I'm very impressed by how well her other back leg is handling the weight. Her back left is taking all the weight from the back right. She's not putting any weight on the back right at all. But when she walked straight past the vehicle right next to Gert, it almost looked as though she had a dislocation on that hip, which I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe that's why she's not putting weight on it. And it'll just take a bit of time for her to settle back in, rest the hip a bit, and then go from there. But she seems to be keeping up with the pride absolutely fine. There is no issue with her hopping down the road at speed when she was catching up with Chilla earlier. Goodness, that is quite the yoga pose happening. Elke, it has been a fantastic drive this morning. I think between us and the lion tracking and the odds here and there, Janti with Tavangumi, how wonderful. And of course JP with his side as well, with the lion, with all the bits and pieces. I think we've had a very successful drive this morning. Interestingly enough, we haven't seen any elephants this morning, myself and Gert. The weather is making them move a bit more perhaps, but I'm sure by this afternoon there might be some elephants around quarantine. I'm wondering where the lions are going to go today, what they'll get up to. Maybe we'll find them up at quarantine later, or maybe Treehouse Dam. But I imagine they're going to go towards Pangolin Track. There's some lovely pan systems along there headed towards Chela Pan. Maybe Chela will take them there. And then we're pretty much back where we started off last night with the sub-adults. So I think Chela, Purple Eye, and Chela's son decided to come and find the sub-adults, and that was a bit of the calling we heard. They had a bit of a reuniting moment. And now they'll probably all keep moving together for a few days. But this weather is not looking too promising for us in terms of the rain. You can see the clouds are building. It is getting cooler. I'm still wearing a jacket at the moment. It's cold enough for that. So it's great for the lions, for the elephants. And in terms of the possibilities for this afternoon, I think we are going to have a great chance of finding a lot more animals this afternoon. If we can find them, we'll have very active animals, that's for sure. But in terms of us staying dry, I'm not as hopeful. I think we might get rained on a bit this afternoon. But I'm sure the lions are loving it. You can see they're not concerned by this weather at all. I'm sure they're quite happy about it. They'll just be following shady spot to shady spot today as it carries on. and just enjoying this breeze. I think I would be too if I was a lion. I'd just be lying around, sleeping, listening to the bird calls, and having a relaxing day with the family. But it's been an absolute pleasure having all of you with us on Drive this morning. I think I speak for myself, Jonty and JP, when I say we love hearing from you every drive, the comments, the questions. And I think this afternoon we're going to be in for some lovely surprises again. So please do join us. We will be out here ready to make some magic happen with you. And we thank you so much for joining us this morning and enjoying all of our predators that we found for you today.